Halliburton gets injured first 7 minutes of the NBA Finals. This was something that had been challenging him throughout the NBA Finals. I would argue it's also been challenging him a ton throughout this postseason. As early as game 2, Shams calls it a lower left thing or whatever he called it.
Yeah.
I bring this up because I saw a tweet during the game after the injury from Victor Oladipo, who's very well known for his tragic injuries, and he's a Pacers guy as well.
Sure.
And he tweeted, "In the finals, ? So we just gonna keep playing, right? ? Like it's okay, right? ? Like it ain't happen, huh? ? And he keeps going on, but his main point here is that the doctors and the NBA, the NBA team doctors and the medical personnel and the coaches and the players, but specifically the medical staff, are doing a poor job at protecting the players." And I think he makes a decent point. And Dr. Brian Suter has already put a video out about Halliburton's injury, and I think he kind of makes – I haven't watched it yet, but I'm pretty sure he makes a very similar point in this, that yes, it is the NBA Finals, and I get it. And Halliburton said it in his post-game press conference following Game 5 was, yeah, if I can walk, I'm going to be out there and try to play. But
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, for me, it gets into a larger theme, and it could be an interesting theme going forward if this is a headline that kind of gets some wind. It feels like and I almost feel this way, where we should head to a place where medical personnel are neutral, and it almost becomes like concussions in the NFL, where if you're just not good and you're just not ready, you shouldn't be allowed back out there, because things like this can happen. And this now has plenty of precedent for it.
Yeah.
Twice it happened in this playoffs. Damian Lillard, lower left calf strain. He rushes back to play in the playoffs, pops his Achilles. You go back to the 2019 finals with Kevin Durant, calf strain in the NBA playoffs against the Rockets, rushes back to play in Game 5, down 3-1 for the Warriors, pops his Achilles. And Halliburton is a little different because he played through multiple games, but you continue to play on something of the strain, you're going to give yourself more chances to injure it, pops his Achilles. And I asked both of y'all, and Sanders, you can give your opinion on this as well. Where do y'all see that? Like, is this something that, for me, I feel like we should go to a neutral staff, especially for injuries that could be as significant as this, because we have to protect the players, because for this Halliburton injury and for the Jason Tatum injury, like, he's not going to play at all next season, and he's more than likely not going to be the same 2 seasons from now. So realistically, he's back to the form he's in right now in 3 seasons. Like, that is robbing a player a ton of his career.
Yeah.
And while I get it, it's the NBA Finals. It may be his only chance to ever win it, but, like, where do you do the trade-off there? Because at the end of the day, like, for me, I think you have to protect the players, and for me, it would be go to a neutral medical staff.
Yeah, you go first.
I don't know what the current setup of the medical staff for the NBA is now. I imagine that my thought is that if you went to a neutral medical staff, you would not necessarily solve the issue, because you would still have neutral medical staff assigned to a team for the entire season, because you're not going to want to be changing doctors on players, right? So the players are going to consistently be dealing with the same neutral doctors. So I wonder if that, like, one doctor being with a team for a year or multiple years, like, that neutral aspect fades and they become, like, attached to the players and buddies with the players. And the players are like, hey, doc, like, I'm playing tonight. And the dude, yeah, you know what, Tyrese, like, you go get him, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily know. I don't know what the setup is now. I don't know if they are paid.
I can explain it for you if you want.
Go for it.
So right now they are team doctors. They're hired by the organization. They're not working out of some medical company. They're hired by the organization. And so because of that, they are put in spots a ton of the time, as far as I understand it, where the team is pushing them to try and get their players back as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's a common theme with a lot of these injury conversations is that's the first question you ask is, when is he coming back? It's not, is he okay? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to fully recover? It's, when can he come back and even play at 50%? And that is because we're in this spot where we have team doctors. They're hired by the organization, and that is what they're kind of being told to do is, I want my dude back as soon as possible, even if he's at 50%. So that's kind of the current landscape. And for me, I feel like it should be like the NFL in a way where if a guy's got a concussion, the guy's got a concussion, that's a protocol. He can't come back in the game. He can't come back and play next week.
But the concussion, I
It
believe,
would
is
be-
the only medical situation where they bring in the neutral doctor. I believe everything else is
Well-
handled by team doctors.
So that's kind of how I would do it, is I would keep team doctors, right? But then
I would too.
you
yes.
would have, so you have an injury report, right? And the players show up for the game, and there's like an NBA staff there, medical staff there. And if like Tyrese wants to play, he has to go to the medical staff person first and get cleared. The team doctor can still treat him, right? Because I do think that relationship matters, right?
Yeah.
Is having continuity. You can't just like rotate guys the whole time. That's not going to be good for people's health either. But having, someone clear them, and just, some random NBA doctor clear them before they can play for certain injuries. I mean, if someone, I mean, pinky contusion or something like that, I don't necessarily think they need to get cleared by the doctor. But this is another point I wanted to make that JP basically already made. It's pretty clear that calf strains have dangerous implications when you play on them at this point. There's enough
Yes.
data to suggest that. So that is something that needs to not be taken lightly. We've seen like people, what are they going to say? I started reading the comment. Yeah, and we've seen people take them pretty seriously. I mean, sometimes people get a calf strain and they miss like almost 2 months because it just takes forever to heal, and you want to be careful with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we're taking it seriously most of the time in the regular season, shouldn't we continue taking it that serious in the playoffs? Which I get. Like, if I was Tyrese Halliburton, I would want to play.
Yeah.
Which is why JP says, like, you got to protect the players, but you also kind of got to protect the players from themselves,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's really realistically all you're doing, because I don't know that anyone wants to get back more than the players do. Well, not all
Yeah,
you're doing, but
I mean, the
think that's
coach,
main
I'm
thing.
sure Rick Carlisle really wished he had Tyrese Halliburton for Game 7.
Yes, but yeah, that's probably true. I still think that the person who wants out there the most is the player.
Well, I agree.
So, and also they are the ones who have the ability to lie about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And be like, no, I feel fine. I feel fine. So I think in reality, you're mainly protecting them from themselves.
Sure, and that's why I think if you send them to someone like an official at the game,
I'm
I don't know how logistically sound that is, like how feasible that is.
I don't know either. And
But I would
it's
like
really,
that.
It's like it's a weird case.
Yeah.
It's a really weird case. And even if you get specific in the Halliburton case, where for me it felt like dude, after they stole Game 1 and we're already talking about this calf thing, like, could he not have sat for Game 2? Could he not have sat even for Game 3? Like, you win Game 3, could he not have sat for Game 4? And could you have given him an extra days of rest? Because even for the NBA Finals, where you get the 2 days of rest in between, it was still a problem for him, and it's still going to be a problem for him. And I agree with Jack. Like, team doctor, 100%. That should be a thing. That's still a thing in the NFL as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you're saying, Sanders, we have to protect the players from themselves at some point, because, and I'm sure he was told this, but with the data that on calf strains and how they can lead to Achilles tears, I don't think at times the player has enough headspace to make that decision for themselves, because it goes just in line with concussion. They don't really know because, I mean, go back and watch the injury. It's probably fresh in your mind because, like Jack said, you saw it 40 times tonight. Halliburton is barely pushing off on that leg. Like, the amount of force he is pushing off with is no different than you taking one step in your room and walking forward a step. Like, that is about how much force he's putting on his calf. But because his calf is strained and it's in such a dangerous spot, like, that's all it takes to pop his Achilles, and now he doesn't play for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to somehow – there's got to be some way to protect the players from themselves because they're going to put themselves in these bad positions. And it's not just calf strains. It can be ACL tears. It can be making a shoulder injury worse. And they're robbing themselves of valuable time because you play in the NBA, you don't really get many years to do it. You don't get many chances to do it. And, yeah, it sucks. It's the NBA Finals, and you want to play. But I think you got to protect yourself and you got to protect your future.
Yeah.
Because he's about to go through hell for a summer. Same with Jason Tatum and
Damian Lillard. I mean, we had 3 Achilles pops
Damian.
in one postseason.
Well, it's crazy. 3 Pacers players tore their Achilles this year.
Really?
Mhm.
Exactly.
The other 2 are just like you don't hear about it much because they weren't like massive rotation pieces or anything. But that's like, that's pretty bad. I'm not like trying to say, man, the Pacers medical staff is incompetent. But that does kind of make you raise your eyebrow. I mean, that's just 3's pretty significant.
Yeah.
For perspective, 1 Western Conference player tore his ACL this year, or tore his Achilles. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then 3 Achilles were torn on the Pacers. So
Alone. Yeah. And I have a couple of. Well, first I want to shout out Lucy, a pre-med, future med student. Pre-med. Anyway, she agrees with me. She said neutral medical staff equals only staying neutral for so long. So shout out being on the same page with the future med student. So, but also the critic in me, the devil's advocate. I'm a little not the biggest fan because also in my brain, the NBA, like every other organization, their goal is to make money and grow their brand. And so if you have NBA doctors, their goal is also going to be to get their superstars back on the court as quick as possible. Because a game with LeBron versus Steph, 10 years ago sold a lot more seats than both those guys sitting out, especially with as many sit out now. Like, you don't want to add extra games where you're missing your superstars and you're missing your sellout crowds. So I don't even know if I would trust NBA doctors to be entirely neutral. I would be concerned that the NBA is going to be on them saying, hey, if you can get Tatum back an extra month early, like, you should do that because Madison Square Gardens is a lot fuller with Jason Tatum on the court, and we make a lot more money and TV revenue is a lot higher and numbers like that. So that's my critique towards putting NBA doctors, or I don't really trust them to be looking out for the best interest of the players entirely any more than the team doctors are already looking out for them.
maybe not. But also in terms of like making money, right? It's like, Tyrese doesn't play in Game 7, they're going to lose some money there. But now Tyrese isn't going to play for a year.
Yeah.
And so they're going to lose out on all of that money, right? Even if Tyrese doesn't play in this Game 7, he plays all of next year. He leads them back to the playoffs. There's going to be so much momentum behind that Pacers storyline of, like, they're back. Tyrese is doing it again. I can't wait to tune in and watch him in the playoffs because of what he did last year. And now you're just going to get none of that.
Yeah, but then you're forcing them to assume he's going to get hurt. Because what if he doesn't get hurt?
I mean, it's just all risk management.
Correct.
They're minimizing the risk.
Correct.
I'm not saying they'll stay neutral, but I do think it goes both ways in terms of, like, they do have a good reason to protect their assets because that is what makes them money.
Correct.
So
I think it's becoming more important now than ever, too, because we're getting, in this era of sports, like, guys are taller, faster, stronger. I mean, you go in baseball, more guys are having Tommy John injuries, and in football, it's gotten more dangerous. And the NFL has, in my opinion, done, while it sucks kind of seeing the product change so fast, they have done a great job in doing the best that they can to protect their players in the most violent sport in the world. And I think the NBA and the MLB, I don't know what you do with the MLB, but in this case for the NBA, like I think we've got something kind of has to happen here because we are about to go. The storm has not came yet. We are about to go through some pain next season. The Eastern Conference is going to be abysmal, and we are going to get into the postseason. And the fix that people are going to try to make is, oh, let's get away from conferences and let's just seed them 1 through 16. Well, would it be that way if we had made this fix early on and, you know, Tatum doesn't pop his Achilles and Halliburton doesn't pop his Achilles and even Damian Lillard doesn't pop his Achilles? Like, that is going to be what the narrative – I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. That's what the narrative is a year from now is, oh, we should go to 1 through 16 because a team is going to get left out of the Western Conference playoffs that should be in the playoffs. So I think we've got to make some kind of – something has to happen here because we have to protect these players from themselves because we're in an unprecedented time where these guys are so explosive. Like Aaron Nesmith back in the 1970s, like, come on now. He would cook. He would cook. And that's just Aaron Nesmith. Like, you get up this list, like, these guys are so athletic and so physically gifted. I mean, the plays that Jalen Williams makes, and he's still young, and the way that he's able to get up after these big hits and these nasty falls, like, they have spent their entire life being so young and athletic and healthy and not sustaining these big injuries. And when they get in these awful moments and they kind of bend their knee weird, they're feeling fine the next day. So they really have no clue what their body is capable of and what injuries they are capable of, what devastating injuries they are capable of. And it's something as simple as pushing off the back of your right leg can keep you off a basketball floor for 15 months. So I just feel like now more than ever, there has to be something has to happen here. And I don't know the fix because it really is just popped in my mind tonight. But something has to happen here because these players, they just need to be protected. No different than how the NFL protects players from concussions.
Sure. I mean, I agree. I don't know what the fix is. It's pretty clearly not going to be a simple, like, oh, do this, all problems are solved. But the last piece I want to say, too, is, like, I feel like there's a little bit of responsibility as fans as well to understand the severity of all of this and not get frustrated or call out players when they miss a game, because load management or something's bothering them, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, just play through it. It's not that bad. But here's why you don't play through it, right? So I think us as fans being more aware could honestly help some as well.
I agree.